All right, good morning, everyone. This is the Joint Legislative Management Committee meeting on Wednesday, November 8th. Today's agenda is laid out. We are going to start the meeting with introductions of new staff members, which is very exciting. We will then move to get an update from the Capitol Police Department from Kevin Williams. I do expect that we will be going into executive session at some point to get an update on security issues in the building. Well, after we come back from executive session, we will get an update on State House renovations, and then we will adjourn at 11 or a little before 11. Our subcommittee on hiring the new head of Legislative Council, we have an interview at 11, so that group will be continuing to meet then. So with that, I would love to bring who wants to go first? Sure. Jen Carvey? Sure. For staff introductions. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. So I guess we'll pull up a couple of chairs here. Good morning, Jen Carvey. I'm the Director of Issue Counsel of the Office of Legislative Counsel, and we do have two new attorneys in our office. So as you may know, David Hall and Becky Wasserman have left our office in the last couple of months, and we hired John Gray and Rick Sagel, and I will let them briefly introduce themselves. I don't know what you want to hear from them.
Jump in?
Yeah, just go for it.
Hey everyone, John Gray, happy to be here. I cover housing, some public finance, capital bill, sort of matters, maybe some consumer protection. But I think I got more of Becky's portfolio, but some of David's, including the housing. So happy to be here and look forward to working with you guys.
Great, welcome.
I'm Rick Sagel. It's good to see you all. I thank you all for the very warm welcome. I've been here 3 weeks, and it's been very, very nice. I'm from Texas. Please don't hold that against me. It's a little different. You got some mountains. It's crazy. And snow. I am covering, like John said, mostly David Hall's areas, business, consumer protection, kind of sharing that, workforce development, economic development, pensions, retirement. And yeah, I love it here. And again, thank you for the warm welcome, and look forward to working with everybody and meeting everybody at some point.
Great, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you, Jen.
Great. Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
There's a lot more chairs.
Yeah, they can sit around the table.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll scoot it down like that. Yeah. Good morning. I'm Catherine Benham with the Joint Fiscal Office. And we also have had some changes. And so some places we've had Sarah Clark has left to be with the Deputy Secretary of Administration, and Dan Dickerson left for the ACCD. And so we have some new faces and we have some other faces that have new roles. So that's what I am going to do. So why don't I'll just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, Scott Moore, for the first time for the record, Joint Fiscal Office. It's in there for a month now. The past 2 sessions I worked with Senate Economic Development as committee assistant. I'm really looking forward to working in a different role and crunching some more numbers.
You're doing the capital bill.
Yeah, I'll be doing the Capitol bill during this session, right now working on the legislative budgets.
Good morning, and my name is Amy Pope. I worked in the executive branch for many years, most recently in the Department of Human Resources, working with classification and position management. And I worked in the budget office for several years with Jim Reardon, with Emily actually, and Sarah Clark. So I have some experience in state government, and I'll be working with Senate appropriations.
I like how you said you have some experience in state. Amy has a lot.
Expectations low.
Hi, I'm Emily Byrne. Started with Joint Fiscal last August as the revenue team lead, and have moved into the deputy role as of last week. We'll be working with the budget team, build the budget.
Great.
You all know me. Good morning, Chris Roop. For the last 3 years, I've been primarily working on transportation, pensions, and you all have seen me in the appropriations committees. I have moved into the associate role that Emily used to hold. So now I'm overseeing our extremely talented team of revenue analysts, but I'll be spending more of my time on the Ways and Means and the finance side, and a little less on transportation and appropriations. Still keeping pensions.
Jane lights up.
Yeah. Reactions on the screen there. Welcome and congratulations. It's so great to have you all
And
here.
we are recruiting for a transportation person that will be hopefully posted today. So if you know anybody who's interested, send them our way.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great team.
Yeah,
So
welcome.
exciting.
Oh, you're changing in different roles.
I know, it's great, it's fantastic.
I know, recruiting from within, I love it.
You have another introduction?
Yes, we do.
Oh, great.
Operations Office has, as you know, Peggy Delaney is retiring in December, and so we've hired Megan Canella to be the new supervisor of committee services.
Hello, nice to meet you all. I'm new to state government. I most recently worked at Norwich University for the past 8 years, teaching in the English department, primarily working with multilingual students, and also advising a group of mainly international students who were computer security majors.
Oh,
So learning the ropes,
Yeah.
getting used to. Really, it was really quick, getting used to not lesson planning and grading. That's the best part so far.
You'll have a whole bunch of different headaches.
We've been hiring committee assistants, so.
wonderful. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you here, and we will be sending out, once we start in January, an updated staff list for everyone, so we know all the new faces and can welcome them. And Peggy, have a wonderful retirement. We'll miss you.
All right, I'm leaving my team in great hands, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Great. Any other introductions? All right, then let's move to the Capitol Police update. Kevin Williams, come on up.
Good morning, all. For the record, my name is Kevin Williams. I am the interim director of Capitol Police. Good morning, Madam Chair, and all the attendees. I started here October 2nd. I've been here about 5 weeks. I've got 45 years of experience in law enforcement, serving in multiple states, and that includes 5 times leading other departments in other states. So I have a number of observations, being the new kid on the block coming in from outside. I want to share some of those things with you today. I intend to talk about safety and security, our policies and procedures in terms of how we go about doing police business, the 4 mandated policies that come from the state and how strongly I support those. My span of control / the span of control of whoever is my successor. I intend to talk about the number of staff in this department, recruitment and retention, background checks, interoperability, two-way communication that we can communicate with other law enforcement agents. The reason why I made a decision to lock the building down, vehicles and training, and my approach to transparency as it relates to policing. I want to start there by saying that I think we as law enforcement leaders have made some mistakes over the last decade in terms of how transparent we are. I think we need to be basically open books, except for those things that must be held confidential. I think that raises trust. And when people are interacting with law enforcement professionals who are transparent and warm and have a model of service, we just have a better environment. And so that's my approach here. I believe that we exist here at the Capitol for the sole purpose of serving and protecting others. I think that is a mantra that all law enforcement should have nationwide. But let me assure you that even though I've been here 5 weeks, we are not the Uvalde Police Department. And what I mean by that is we are prepared should there be something that occur, and we will take the appropriate action to address that. I will be talking about a number of things. The first I want to talk about is radios. I discovered through an audit that a number of our radios are what the manufacturer calls end of life. They still work, but Motorola will not repair them anymore. So if a radio breaks in 15 minutes, then we're going to have to replace that radio. And these items happen to be rather expensive. So we're developing a plan, and I will be looking for grant money and other sources to try to fund that before seeking money here. There are different ways to go about addressing that, but these radios have a life cycle, and Motorola is very much into ending the life cycle of their radios, which causes agencies that need radios, causes them to have to replace them to be aware of it. And we have to be able to communicate, because if something were to happen and we had our fellow law enforcement colleagues coming, we have to be able to communicate with them. This is not an emergency, but I'm developing a plan. It's my understanding that there was an effort before I got here to buy cars for every officer in the department. I see no rationale for that whatsoever. I don't support that. We don't need that. So I want to make that clear. I believe we do need a car, and there's myriad reasons for that, which I can get into more detail, and feel free to ask me any questions about that, but absolutely not. We don't need take-home cars, and we don't need a fleet of cars. That's not our purpose here. I've learned that in our state, there are two levels of officers, level 2 and level 3. Coming from a number of different states, training, being certified in multiple states, I do have some concerns about that, particularly because a level 2 police officer goes through a 2-week academy. And with this being 2023, almost going into 2024, I cannot envision any scenario where 2 weeks of training initially is sufficient, and then having the person come back to the department, hand them a badge, ID card and gun, and put them out on the street. Okay. I have grave concerns about that. Level 3, I think at minimum is where we should be. I have both level 2 and level 3 officers. I have confidence in my staff because they've got experience, multiple years. But as a law enforcement professional, I think it's important for me to share that I have concerns about that. It's my understanding that in the past, there's been active attacker or active shooter training here. I think we should be doing that at least twice a year. I've done that many times. I'm prepared to do that day, afternoon, or night, including weekends. However we can serve, however I can serve, I'm prepared to do that. And I would respectfully request that if you have significant others who want to attend, I would ask that you invite them also, because what I share is something that can be applied on any day, at any time, anywhere. Give you a very quick snapshot. I'm going to be talking about run, hide, fight. And that's basically the national standard for teaching people what to do in an active attacker, active shooter environment. And in a nutshell, it's if there's something going on, you run and you get away. And if you cannot run and get away, you hide. And then if you can't run and you can't hide, you fight. And it gets into much more detail, but that's just a snapshot of it. And it's rather easy to remember. It's rather straightforward. And we will break that down and talk about that in detail. I have another concern I'd like to share, and that is I have the privilege of serving here as your interim director. I have 3 college degrees, 45 years of law enforcement experience. This is my 6th time leading a department, but I don't qualify to apply for the job. And many of you might not know that. I'd be barred from applying for the job because I'm a senior citizen. I'll be 67 in a few weeks. According to the way that the law is written here, that job can only be held by a level 3 police officer in this state. And because this is a state job, she or he cannot be 57 years of age. The day they turn 57, they must separate, either by retirement, resignation, or whatever. Can't work here. So I love this job. I've been here 5 weeks and I've been treated great. And there's a lot of opportunities with respect to this department and its development. But someone with my experience could not be considered for appointment because I'm simply too old. So I would respectfully request that as you have further discussions, ask yourself, is that really what we want in terms of the opportunity to look at the entire broad spectrum of people who might be available to serve here? Because it takes a unique person to serve here. We don't need anybody who wants to rip and run up and down the street and get into altercations and doesn't know how to talk to people. Every member of this department must be respectful. Every member of this department must have a gift of communication because our guests come from all socioeconomic classes, all educational levels. We have some of our greatest leaders come in this building, and we have to have the right people wearing my police uniform in order to interact with those people. I don't care what their race, creed, color, gender identity, sexual preference. I don't care about any of that. Can you properly interact and engage with people? I believe that's what you want. Certainly, I believe that that's what I want when I'm at home and the police happen to come to my house or in my neighborhood. And I say we can get there. But if we have some barriers in terms of age, and some of the most seasoned people happen to be a tad bit older than teenagers, we ought to be able to consider. So that's something that I wanted to share and put it in the context of the fact that you would have never met me if I wasn't serving here as a consultant and an interim. I did an audit regarding our policies and procedures. I wasn't pleased. I was handed a 3-wing binder with a bunch of policies stuck in it that weren't in order and they weren't numbered. That's unacceptable. I'm going to fix that. And we're going to migrate toward a system that is accepted throughout this nation as one of the best systems for keeping records with respect to police training, because there's certain liability issues that come from that. And I'm going to fix all of that so that we know how people have been trained. We know what those records are. We know where they are. We can refer to them electronically, and we can hold people accountable for that. It's also going to have a field training officer component, so we show how our new hires are trained. I mentioned the 4 mandated policies by this state. That includes body cams, electronic control devices. People call them tasers, but that's actually the manufacturer's name. Fair and impartial policing, internal affairs policies. Ours are aligning with this state and the requirements for every police department. I am thrilled to work in a state where that's the direction that the leadership has said must occur for every police department. There needs to be consistency across states. This is absolutely in the right direction. I think this is a great idea. Those policies I just mentioned, we know where those are and we know what they say because they came from the top, the state on down to every department. I'd like to see more of that. I congratulate the leaders who have made that decision. With respect to span of control, we currently have 1 supervisor. I do not believe that that is sufficient. I have chatted with my boss and I've developed a plan that would convert one of our staff members, existing staff members, to a supervisor so that every time we have police officers on duty. There's a supervisor on duty. I believe it is a grave mistake to have police officers of any amount of tenure working without having immediate supervision available. I'm not saying I don't trust my staff, because I do trust my staff, but I also owe it to my staff to set them up for success. And that means having access to a supervisor. And so I came up with a plan to do that within budget, and my boss smiled. The number of staff. It's my understanding that my predecessor had a dream to build out this department. And I looked at that, and I will share with you all something that most people don't know. And that is the average size police department in the United States is comprised of 25 people. That's the average size police department in the United States. The mean, the median, the mode. That includes the chief of police and all the people in the department. Okay? We don't need 25 people. We don't need close to that. I've got a plan. I'll talk about that a little bit later, about what that looks like and why. But what we need to do is appropriately deploy the staff that we're authorized to have. And I have a plan for that. And I've submitted it to my boss, the Sergeant at Arms, that would decrease our use of overtime. And that is with our current staffing model. It would decrease the use of overtime. And I think when you deploy people properly, which we as leaders need to be doing, it can help. Do I believe we should be a little larger? Yes, operative word is little larger. Okay. We are currently doing a search for police officers. We have 2 vacancies, and we are looking for a chief of police to be your permanent chief. With the support of our HR director and our sergeant at arms, we cast a wide net in terms of who we've been attempting to let know that the job is out there. I can tell you, because I've seen all the applications, there are some extraordinary candidates in this process. Now, that may sound like it contradicts what I said earlier, but the reality is, as a decision maker, I want the maximum access to look at people so that I can find the best candidate. Within the parameters of age, as I talked about earlier, I can tell you we got some really strong candidates. I won't get into specifics, but I will tell you that I saw some people in there that I said, I would have a difficult time competing against that person. So I'm thrilled about that. But that's because of the support of Janet Miller and Arlene with respect to spending a little bit extra money to advertise in places that I let them know about that police executives tend to look for opportunities. I believe we need to only look at those candidates, police officer and chief of police, that have a guardian mindset. I'm LAPD. I'm old school. Our mindset was warrior. I'm in charge, you're not. We're going to come and we're going to conquer. I'm going to tell you that doesn't work, and it would never be acceptable in the people's house. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at. I'm a strong proponent of 30 by 30. There's an initiative in this nation whereby 2030, there's an effort that police departments have 30% representation of females. I am disappointed with the candidate pool in terms of the absence of female candidates for chief, but it's not because we haven't been trying. I will also tell you that Healy Plus, which is the company that helped to get me here, is assisting with the screening of our candidates. So there's no manipulation going on or favorites or anything like that. They're a very professional organization that's assisting. And then also we have met with the President Pro Tem and the Speaker, because we would like to have other people involved in that from leadership positions to help with that. As a standard in this state, I am profoundly disappointed with the background checks that are the minimum standard in this state. Please, if you don't hear me say anything else, please, please, please set a standard from the top down as it relates to background investigations. Some of the things that I was told by my colleagues, law enforcement colleagues in this state, I found frightening in terms of what they describe as a background investigation. We don't do that here because I'm here, and there will be thorough and complete background investigations. I'll get into more detail about that later as it relates to my findings. So I believe that I have covered all of the notes. A few other things. We are going to leverage technology because leveraging technology is a force multiplier. We don't need 100 police officers here, but what we do need to do is we do need to work with Kevin Moore and others to leverage technology, replace the cameras that were destroyed due to the flood that we received via the grant, and use those to our benefit to enhance the safety here. Janet Miller, myself, and a gentleman named Joe Aja, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly, from BJS. We walked the grounds yesterday, and Janet and I also came out on Halloween night. It was very dark, and we walked then also to check the exterior of the building as it relates to lighting, because we have been informed that there are some concerns from members and constituents about lighting. We've taken 2 looks at that within the last 10 days. And I can assure you that our meeting was robust yesterday with BGS as it relates to this topic. So we're on it. We have in this building a system of panic and medical alarms. We are looking to move into the 21st century as it relates to, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm just sorry, I just agree with you, that's all.
Okay, so we're again leveraging technology. So we've been having meetings with a entity called RAVE, and I can get into more specifics about what they will offer in terms of enhancing security and geofencing. I had the privilege of meeting the governor in the building, but as the director of the police department, I found it kind of shocking that I didn't know he was coming or that he was here. So we're improving our communication between the agencies because I do have a responsibility for him. Okay, that completes my summary of presentation. I'm happy to receive any questions, but I do have some additional information I'd like to talk about later.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, I know you said you were pursuing grant funding, but on the radios, what's the ballpark to replace our suite of radios?
There's 2 answers to the question because some of our radios are not obsolete. My predecessor had already started this. So he had bought some radios that are going to be usable for some time and have parts available. I'm talking about 4 radios and it's less than 20,000.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, let's go to Senator Kitchell.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to your comment about the level of law enforcement training and level 2, level 3. And I was just wondering, are there times when you look at the overall utilization of the police force, should we have a blend of, level 2 and 3? Are there certain lower skill level jobs in this competitive market, like, I don't know, patrolling the parking lot or some of the other sort of just general monitoring or observation? I don't have an opinion. I'm just asking, are there distinctions between the knowledge and skill and training level that you would require for certain functions that you wouldn't need for others?
Senator, thank you very much for your question. And I think it is both timely and on point because it caused me to realize I could have been a little bit clearer about that. So let me explain well, first of all, my direct answer to your question is having level 2 and level 3 here is fine. I have that right now. I have no problem with that. It works well here. What I was referring to, and it wasn't as clear as I could have been or should have been, is I'm talking about statewide. And because I'm looking at things from a perspective of 45 years of law enforcement experience. And so what I was speaking to, ma'am, is I don't, as a law enforcement professional, 2 weeks of training as a level 2 before she or he goes out in the field and starts field officer training is insufficient in every state I've ever lived. And so I'm asking respectfully that you all rethink that along with the law enforcement professionals in this state, because I believe that raising the bar would benefit all. You also spoke, you mentioned about these times about recruitment, and you may have been referring to the difficulty some people have indicated they have with hiring and recruitment. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I have never in my life had a problem recruiting and retaining people. Never. It's about how you market what it is that you have to sell. If you take a look at how we marketed the police officer positions that we've got advertised right now, if you look at how we market the police chief positions that we have advertised right now, we are receiving a number of applicants. We will have no problem filling these positions because it's all about marketing. And I'm going to tell you something, this is a great place to work and it's a great state to live in. And I've only been here 5 weeks, but I touched both of those documents, massaged them a little bit. And I said, what would it cause me to sit up and take notice and have an interest in here? And that's why we have estimating 15 to 20 applicants for 2 police officer jobs right now, and it's still open. And that's why we have approximately 15 applications for police chief for 1 job. It's about marketing.
Well, I would think also it would be the context or the just the work environment. So I'm looking at Nader, who's experienced in law enforcement, and I'm thinking, gee, if I'm in law enforcement, the security of the state house versus going out in the middle of the night and domestic violence and so forth. I'm just thinking that there is not only marketing, but it's just the nature of the work and the approach and the organizational culture that would be attractive as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. This is one of the most attractive work schedules I've seen in my 45 years. And I believe, and I believe the research supports this, that the majority of people who leave jobs, whatever it may be, law enforcement or otherwise, the primary reason isn't money. It's because they didn't feel valued at work. And as long as I'm here, every single one of our employees will feel valued. That doesn't mean that every single one of them is a good fit for this department and this environment, but they will definitely be valued. I talked about earlier about, not today, but about Jim Collins's book, Good to Great. He talks about getting on the bus. I'm a real efficient person with making sure that the people are on the right bus.
Representative Wood.
Thank you. And thank you, sir, for clarifying your level 2 comments. And so I'm going to ask about the age requirement comment that you made. So is that only for this position, or is that a statewide thing in terms of level 3?
As I understand it, if you are a state employee, you have to separate at the age or the day you turn 57, you no longer are employed. That's my understanding. So municipal agencies, they don't have this restriction.
Okay.
Okay. But here, because we are state employees, we do. So a level 3 officer must separate the day they turn 57.
And so there's no distinction between whether you're a state police or a Capitol Police?
Not to my knowledge, and I'm not aware of anybody in the state police who is 57 years of age.
Thank you.
Or older.
Any other questions before I ask for a motion to move to executive session? Representative Shaw.
I have maybe it's an easy question. You referred to the average size police department.
Yes, sir.
Nationwide.
Yes.
About statewide.
I have not done the research, but here's what I've been told. I've been told that most of the police departments here are small, very, very small. Many of them 10 people or less. That's what I've been told, but I haven't researched it. Although the person who told me, I believe him.
Great research project also, because many of the departments are one person or two people.
Yes.
So it would be interesting to know how that fits into your overall appearance of this police department.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's the reason why some of the things I've been told about prior plans before I got here don't align with what we need. That's not an attack on anybody, but we need to be reasonable. And I, as your representative, need to be very frugal and not come to you with something that I can't justify through research. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I mentioned the average size police department in the United States. There are 18,000 police departments in the United States. And since many of them are far lower than 25 in terms of the number, that's why even though we have Chicago Police Department, Los Angeles, and New York, massive agencies, the average size is 25 because of that. So many of the departments is one person, as you pointed out.
Representative Wood? No.
No, I just, the 25, that's all police departments. I was just wondering if you had any data on Capitol Police, the size of forces in Capitol Police roles.
Ma'am, I do not. However, I can get that. And I'd be.
That would seem more relevant for us in terms of, what we're comparing to and thinking about.
Yes, and let me share with you that is something I've given thought to, but it's kind of like what I'm doing right now is drinking water out of a fire hose. That's on full. One of the things we will look at that. I will tell you that we will look at what that Capitol Police Department's responsibilities are.
Of course.
Ours are very narrow here. I'll use Washington, D.C. as an example, and you can think of January 6th. The Capitol Police were engaged in a number of things that hopefully we never, ever have to face. But we'll look at the size, whether or not it's a 24/7 operation, that sort of thing. But yeah, we can get that data for you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a resource with NCSL, the National Conference of State Legislatures, and so we can see if they have that information on hand too, because they collect a lot of information about capitals and staff sizes. So we can help you with that. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, can I please have a motion to move the committee into executive session in order to talk about security issues?
So moved.
Thank you, Senator Brew. All those in favor, please say aye. Thank you. I don't think I need a second.
You don't need a second?
But thank you, for being generous with the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Great, the ayes have it. And